had to run to the restroom, but now I'm here. So this live stream was unscheduled. Well, I guess I scheduled it 2 hours ago, but I wanted to talk about my day. I posted a squirrel hunting video, um, and I got 2 squirrels today. So call me Squirrel Slayer. Actually, my nickname from the factory when I used to work at the factory a few years ago was Squirrel. So you guys can call me Squirrel if you want to. Um, how that nickname came about was I was working at a factory, like I just said, and one of my coworkers, hey baby, wanted some squirrel meat. So I shot some squirrels, and I brought some squirrels in for lunch, like after I cooked them and everything, and he ate them. And the people I worked with started calling me Squirrel Legs. Hi, Granny. And then it got shortened to Squirrel. So my nickname Squirrel. I actually got 2 squirrels this morning, 2 big female gray squirrels, and we're just going to talk about squirrels and things I know about squirrels and information like that. Hold on, I got to send a message real quick. So yeah, let's talk about squirrels. I've hunted squirrels since 2006. The first time I ever went hunting by myself, August 15th, 2006, shot my first squirrel. Hey, it says, I have poor internet out here in my sister's, but really wanted to come in and say hello. Well, thanks, Granny. I greatly appreciate it. For any of you guys stopping in, whether you got good Wi-Fi or not, I appreciate all you guys coming in. But back to what I was saying. I shot my very first squirrel, my very first animal, August 15th, 2006, on this piece of property right here, on this 8 acres that originally used to be 10. And then my parents sold the back 2 acres to the farmer, which is why I couldn't go shoot the first squirrel I saw this morning, because the property line runs right across that strip by the basketball court, and I wasn't sure if the squirrel was on our property or not, so I didn't do it. But either way, I want to kind of talk about how to locate squirrels, basic squirrel, you know, information, some stuff I just learned from a meat eater podcast that's real interesting that some people may not want to know about, but I'm going to say anyways because it's squirrel anatomy, squirrel reproduction, things like that. Some very interesting things like that. So, early season for squirrels, right? What you're looking for is a feed tree, an acorn tree, a hickory tree, a walnut tree. They like to be in pine, hardwood, mixed forest. So basically, the squirrels I'm talking about here are the squirrels we have in Indiana and most of the United States: the eastern gray squirrel and the fox squirrel. And the fox squirrels are the orange ones, the bigger of the 2 of those squirrels. And there's all different kinds of squirrels. But in the United States, there's 200 species of squirrels. I learned that there's 200 species of squirrels. But either way, they like these feed trees, and you can go walking around your woods, and you look around the base of the tree, and you'll see a whole bunch of nut shavings. Okay, green nut shavings. You see where squirrels have bitten into the walnuts or the acorns or the hickories. And if you sit up by one of those trees early in the morning, the chances of you getting a squirrel are really, really good. Now, December is the squirrel rut. And I actually learned that squirrels breed twice a year, once in the late summer and once in the wintertime. But a female squirrel is only in estrus for 6 hours during that time period. 6 hours, which means all the male squirrels, have to fight for the dominance of this female squirrel. And from what I've heard, that more than likely the first squirrel that gets there is the first squirrel that's going to breed her. Now, I'm going to get into something that's a little bit TMI, and you may not want to know, but it's about squirrel reproduction. And like I said, I listened to this 2-hour podcast from meat eater Steve Ranella. And before I get into this, if you guys don't know who he is an author and a hunter who has his own TV show. and he goes to all different kinds of public land and hunts deer and hunts elk and hunts rabbits and hunts all different kinds of things. And um, he has a cookbook, the Meat Eater cookbook, and all this kind of stuff. But he also has a podcast called the Meat Eater Podcast. And the one thing they talked about is this is kind of similar in most rodents, because a squirrel is, they call it a tree rat for a reason. It's considered oh boy, it's time for the talk with DG Outdoors. You're right. You already know what I'm gonna say, May May. Um, but most rodents have a corkscrew wiener. Okay. But a squirrel in particular is the one that actually has a hard bone wiener. Hey, no, I'm talking about squirrel anatomy here. Some people may not want to hear about it. I'm going to anyways. But when a squirrel, let's say the male squirrel and the female squirrel try to make baby squirrels, the male squirrel will deposit a little waxy figure inside the female that actually doubles as a um, like a blocker for the other male squirrels to not try to inseminate the female squirrel again. But the problem is, and I learned on this live stream or this podcast, is that squirrels have kind of like a corkscrew pee-pee, like I said. And so they so it doesn't really help. The blockage thing doesn't really help. It may make it harder for the squirrels to penetrate, the male squirrels to penetrate the female, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen. Someone says, and if you don't know Jesus, I hope you better ask him into your heart and turn from your sins. Amen, sister. My channel's all about, remember, Jesus loves you. Remember to push. Pray until something happens, and I will see you guys on the next one. That's how I end all my videos. I believe in Jesus 110%. He's in my heart. And I just got a couple messages. And I'm going to respond to this person. So, yeah. Thank you. God bless you, bro. Thank you. So, yeah, I also learned that female or gray squirrels, the eastern gray squirrel in general, is more sociable than other squirrel species. Therefore, you may have a den tree where the squirrels go inside a hole in the tree and they live and they build a nest in there. When it gets cold, there may be 4 or 5 female squirrels in that same hole, and what they're doing is they're trying to use their body heat to keep each other warm during the winter, the colder months. And did you know squirrels migrate? Right? Well, thank you for that comment, man. I appreciate it. He said GD Cletus. Well, I appreciate it, buddy. But anyways, back to what I was saying. There's squirrel migration. Squirrels will actually move. Now, it may not be very far, but what's going to happen is, let's say you have a bad acorn crop, a bad mass year, right? Where the nuts on the trees don't produce as much. Well, the squirrels will migrate to different places to find the better trees, and that's how they migrate, which I thought was interesting too. So, basic squirrel tips and tricks. I've already talked about how to locate squirrels. Finding a feed tree, you want to look for what they call cuttings, where the squirrels are cutting into the hickories, the acorns, and the walnut trees at the base of the tree when it's all green and everything. In the early season, they're gathering up all those nuts and everything and eating, and that's how you find squirrels in the early season. Early season for me is real easy, and I've been blessed as far as I can. Like, if this happened Friday night when I got here to my parents' house. I got out of the car, I'm standing there, and I'm looking in that little wood strip by the basketball court. And I go, I can see a squirrel right there running through the trees. I just looked, and I saw the limb move, and there was a squirrel. And I can spot a squirrel pretty easy, but I've gotten really good at it. And that's because a lot of times I'll walk around my woods. I'll look for the draves. Draves are, you ever looked up in a tree and seen a leaf nest? It looks like a basketball size ball of leaves. That is a squirrel nest. Okay, a squirrel nest. Now they also live in the hollow holes in the tree that sometimes you might see a squirrel and he sticks his little head out there the tree. He's living in there. They might crawl in the tree if you shoot at him or whatever. They also live in the hollow parts of the tree too, but most of the time they live in a ball of leaves called draves. Okay. That's where they live, and you can spot. That's how you know where the squirrels are at. And so that's where the squirrels live. Early season for me hunting is a lot easier than later season, where there's not very many nuts in the trees left. They've done stored them all up for the winter. Right? They'll have what I call little catches. Well, they'll bury their nuts in the ground and then go digging for them later in the winter. That's what they're doing in like August, September, right? They're saving the nuts up and burying them and eating them and all kinds of stuff. But then for like October, November, December, January, February, until the trees start budding again, then they will, they'll have to use their stash from last winter to survive on. So that's pretty good. Squirrels can have litters in sizes of 3 to 7 pups, baby squirrels. And yeah. So that's pretty interesting. So hey, how you doing, Amanda? Hope you're doing all right. Just talking about random squirrel stuff. I already had the birds and the bees talks about squirrels on here, so you missed that, about things that when squirrels reproduce. But it's very interesting stuff. I like learning about nature and things. So pomegranate, like drink mix, it's actually really good. Um, so interesting squirrel hunting stories. Yeah, you're not missing much with the talk. Trust me. That's what Carissa just said about the squirrel, birds, and the bees talked, how they reproduced and everything. But my very first squirrel that I ever shot, I had a Savage Mark II bolt action 22 LR. And I had walked to the back of the property by the neighbor's fence, and there was a squirrel barking at me. I was like, I shot it. But when it fell, and I can't get myself in trouble. This has been 15, 16, 17 years ago, whatever it is now. The squirrel fell on my neighbor's side of the fence. So I had to hop the fence, grab the squirrel, jump back over, and act like nothing happened. But that was my first squirrel, and that was the first time I ever killed a squirrel. Let's see. The squirrel I have mounted on my wall at home. Right now I'm at my mom and dad's house doing this because I came down to do some squirrel hunting. I was on the Owen Putnam State Forest, and I was walking through the woods, and I had my 20 gauge, the same one that I killed the squirrel with today. And I saw the squirrel and its tail, because it was still like August something. All the leaves were on the trees real green. It was hard to see. And I saw that tail move, and I shot, and the squirrel died. But I couldn't find a single pellet hole in that squirrel from the shot, so I don't know if it hit its head off the tree and gave itself a concussion and died, or what. But that was the one squirrel mount that I have in my house. Me and my stepdad went squirrel hunting around here a few years ago, and he didn't squirrel hunt much, so I'm taking him out there, and I see this squirrel jump up on a limb with my 22 semi-automatic, and I was going to, hey Pearlman, what's up, buddy? How you doing? I got some squirrel meat in the refrigerator. I got 2 squirrels this morning. The gun goes click because I didn't load it before I left the house. So I missed that opportunity at a squirrel. The biggest the biggest squirrel I shot was here on this property in 2022 with my bow and arrow. I shot it at 20 yards and dropped it. It had it had a white spot on its back, like an albino spot. So I've got pictures here. I'll post all the squirrels on Facebook or on my page. I'll post some of the squirrels I've killed in the past. Squirrel is really, really good. So the thing about wild game is people says it has a gamey taste. Well, that's why they don't like wild game. And so what I do to prepare my squirrels after I gut them and skin them and all that stuff, and I soak them in salt water overnight or a couple days, depending on when I'm going to cook them. And I keep hey, what's the point of a gun if you don't use it? I mean, I use all the guns I have, so I guess the point would be, I guess you can hit somebody with it, or it just looks good in the corner, you know. I spend too much money on my stuff to not use them. But anyways, I soak them in salt water overnight, and every couple hours I replace the water and put more salt in there. It actually draws out the blood, and the blood is for. Thanks, CL, and thanks for watching my video earlier. Mean a lot. The Squirrel Slayer, Mr. Squirrel here in the house. But we're drawing the blood out of the meat, and the salt is help curing it and stuff like that. So doing that gets the gamey taste out of it. And then of course when I put them in a crock pot. I've tried bison and elk. My friend made the meat and elk in mac and cheese one time when I still lived in New York City. It was one of the best things I've ever had. The first time I ever had a bison burger was at Lincoln's Boyhood Home, and I think it was with church camp. They took us to Lincoln Boyhood Home one time, and I had an elk burger not too long ago at the Bloomfield Apple Fest. They had a food truck there that sold elk burgers. It was pretty good. You should really try. I would, but I live in Indiana, so I don't have any way to get moose. But I do have family in New Hampshire and Maine because I was born in New Hampshire. So maybe I need to take a trip up to the East Coast and get me some meese moot. But hello, Mr. Irwin. It's nice to meet you. But yeah, I soak it in salt water, and then I actually have a from Amazon. It's called like the Food Truck Junkie or something like that. I can't remember the brand. It's a Sportsman's pack. And so it has different wild game seasonings I put on there. And I talked about this in the last live stream, but I'm just kind of going along. So times I've missed squirrels. There was a time I was squirrel hunting on my property. Do you live anywhere like a really cold place? I live here in Indiana, and it gets pretty cold. But right now it was 53 degrees today in November. So it wasn't so bad outside. But then there's other times in the state of Indiana where it can be like -3 with a wind chill. So it all really depends on how the weather's going to go. So missing squirrels. I've missed a lot of squirrels. I've lost a few squirrels. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago, I shot a squirrel. I saw it fall out of the tree, but then I never could find it. I think it crawled back in there, and Carissa, or May98, my fiance, actually came out. We had flashlights. We were trying to look for the squirrel. We never could find it. And we have limestone rock in our woods, so it could have crawled up underneath that too. And who knows what happened to it. And then there was another time where I shot a squirrel and it ran into a log, and I don't even know if I got it. What happened today was I do have a hunting video on this. So I shot a squirrel. It fell out of the tree. I went to find it, and it's so like, hey, can one of my people please? All right. I just stopped that guy. But what happened was I couldn't find that squirrel yet. The ground's real brushy and thorny and thick in those woods. And so I seen this other squirrel pop up, and I missed it like 4 times. It was running up the tree, running around all these limbs, up, right? And I missed it. And then I was like, I knew I marked a little tiny oak tree right there. So I walked around. There was the biggest squirrel of the day laying right there. So I didn't miss it. I looked at what you were just heard your last video where you were wearing the exact same clothes. Did you film a video today? Yes, I did. And I'm not wearing the exact same clothes. This is just the hunting hoodie I have. But this is an Under Armour hoodie that I got at Dunham Sports on clearance for like $30. It's a $70 hoodie. And I absolutely love it. It's comfortable. It's their Storm series. It's breathable. And so I found that squirrel. I found the squirrel I hit, which was a huge gray squirrel. That was awesome. And then, yeah, I found. Have you ever tried raccoon? We're like iguana, wild hog, and stuff like that. I have not ate a raccoon, but if I ever trap one or shoot one, I will. I have had groundhog. I've shot 3 groundhogs off our property, and so I've shot 3 groundhogs off my property. Three grounds. I would love to try iguana. I'd love to come air. I love to air rifle hunt. I would like to go air rifle hunting in Florida to try iguana. Wild hog, I haven't tried, but I have had gator. We used to have a restaurant that sold gator bites, called the Rusty Gator here in the town where I live, and it was really, really good meat. I really liked it. So that's as far as exotic meats that I've tried. Here, let me take off this hoodie. Um, so yeah, just sitting here talking about squirrels and all different kinds of stuff. So, but yeah, getting warm. I just like this hoodie no matter what. So yeah, we've been on for 22 minutes already. This is actually Fred Bear camo. Okay, if I can find the little bear on here. Okay, if you look like right there, if you can see it on there, if I can show it. It says Fred Bear's name, but then there's actually somewhere on this pattern is a little bear. Where is one? Where's the bear at? Right here. Okay. There's the little Fred Bear symbol from his company. Fred Bear was from Michigan, a pioneer in the archery industry. And so this was between Rothko Tactical Gear and Fred Bear made an archery collection. I bought their pants, their jackets, their shirts. I pretty much have a whole setup in this camo. And my crossbow is a Bear X Catalyst 420 crossbow. My dad had a Bear Whitetail too back in the 90s. I had a Bear rank for a while. I really, really like Bear archery stuff. But, so yeah, I've missed a few squirrels. Says raccoons stink so bad when you're cleaning them that I can't imagine eating one. Well, hey, I've never tried it, and I'm one of those people, I will try something once, and if I don't like it, I'm never going to do it again. Number one, why am I going to shoot an animal just to kill an animal? You know, if I'm going to kill an animal, it's going to be to eat, or they're a nuisance, and I'm still going to try to eat them. So, cuddle. It's been a long week, bro. I'll tell you what, my fiance's in Michigan, so I've been home all alone all week and lonely. So I'd love to cuddle, you know? I'd love it. Just hang out. But, you know, maybe you can spoon, probably. You're lonely too. Aw. That's sweet, man. I love all of you guys, alright? I'm sending love. Sending love. That's what I love about these live streams, is because I can just be myself. And I don't normally do that on my normal videos. I'm always like so serious, you know, like why so serious, as Joker would say. But so yeah. But yeah. Aw, thanks, babe. I appreciate that. I know you just got to leave tomorrow morning. Hey, my buddy Jimmy just messaged me. I'm getting all kinds of text messages right now. Hey, can you give me a shout out so my channel can grow and do live streams? Sure, Rec420G2G. Jimmy goes, Squirrel Slayer. Exactly. I'm going to message him, say, hey, jump on my live stream. Hey, jump on my live. Excuse me. It's all good. He's out with his wife. So yeah, shout out to your channels, sir. RHEC420G2G. I hope that works. Yeah, I gotta have like 50 subscribers to be able to do live streams and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I had a great morning in the woods. Mom and Dad's property has a huge woodpecker, like a red-headed woodpecker. The thing's huge, and you'd hear him tapping at the wood, tut, 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 and then like pieces of trees would just be falling. And then there'd be times where like blue jays and all different kinds of birds would just land on my ground blind. You hear like their wings flutter, and they'd land there and look at me and then fly off. Beautiful cardinals out here, like beautiful male red cardinals. American Defender. Jimmy, what's up, man? I was talking about how now I'm the Squirrel Slayer. They can call me Squirrel. And at the beginning of this, I was talking about squirrel reproductive habits. So I was having a bird and the bees talk with my subscribers here about squirrels. Pretty interesting. When I talk to you on the phone at some point, I'll tell you about that. That I learned that female squirrels are only in estrus for 6 hours when they're in the breeding season, which happens in December. And then there was some other stuff that I'm not going to repeat, but yeah. But yeah. Wow. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on here. But squirrel hunting stories. I believe I almost shot an albino squirrel once, years and years and years ago when I was hunting back here. I swore I saw a gray squirrel running across the log, but it had like white up its back and like splotches of gray or white, but then I don't know whatever happened to it. And if I would have ever got that squirrel, I would have had it mounted. I did have a gray squirrel mounted that I shot on this property. But it was nailed on a log. Like the guy that did it didn't do a very good job. But I only paid $125 to get the squirrel mounted. It fell off the wall and broke. And then I had to Gorilla Glue the squirrel back on the mount, but the feet were busted off. Kind of like the one I have at home that I showed the other day. That I showed you guys before. Some of the fingers are missing because they're real thin right here and they just snap off. So some of my squirrels just got some messed up hands, but heartbreak, man. Yeah, I know. Have you ever got a black squirrel? If I ever get a black squirrel, get it mounted. Wherever you live, if you live down south or Michigan, things like that, where the woods are darker, there are black squirrels. And technically, they are still considered gray squirrels. They're just, starts with an M. There's a word for it. Where monomelistic or something like that. Melistic squirrels. They're like a black squirrel or a dark squirrel. And then you have albino, which is straight white, which would be cool. Some, I don't know how it is for squirrels, but I know for deer, they have like piebald, which is probably what that squirrel was that I was talking about earlier. A piebald squirrel. Melanistic. Yeah, that that word. Melanistic. However you say it. I'll need to be hooked on phonics, bro. Let me tell you. Good lord. But from what I've heard, that the black squirrels are just really, 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 really dark gray squirrels. And I've heard they don't have any scientific documentation of fox squirrels and gray squirrels breeding with each other. But I have had squirrels where, yeah, that was melatonin. Oh Lord, I'm not sleepy right now. Melanin. I do have a stuttering issue. I don't know if any of you guys know that. I don't talk about it very much, but I do. Melanistic. Well, whatever that word is, we know what I'm trying to say. It means dark phase of squirrels, different colors. Oh, Lord. But yeah. So back to what I was saying about piebald deer. So piebald deer are like they have white splotches all over them. Yeah, that's what I have seen one. I swear. I don't think it's melatonin. Me either. I don't want to go to sleep right now. But I did have some turkey earlier because my mom and dad made their Thanksgiving dinner. We had turkey, homemade noodles with turkey and noodles, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, and rolls. And then that turkey's got melatonin in it, dude. That might put me to sleep later. I hope not. I ain't ready to go to sleep. Thank you for those kind words, you know. I gotta keep going whether I'm stuttering or not, right? I got disabilities. I got learning disabilities, but I can't let it slow me down. ADHD, anxiety. I know anxiety is not a learning disability, but I might be a little bit of I might have a little bit of Asperger's. Never been actually diagnosed with that, but the ADHD, the stuttering thing, every once in a while, sometimes it gets to me, but I don't care. It is what it is. But thank you for those kind words. Um, everybody's got things that they got to work through in their life and learn how to work around, and that's something I've done even with the YouTube channel. So I may not get things right, or I may misspeak words or certain things, but it's all right. I'm only human. God blesses me every day, and I keep going. But piebald squirrels, yeah, I've seen a piebald once. It was mostly, all right, man. Talk to you later, bro. Mostly up its back around the hindquarters, comes up on its back. It had like white spots on it, and then it was mostly gray. Most typical gray squirrels have a solid white belly, and some up in the face. The ones I shot today had dark fur around their mouths and stuff like that, which was pretty interesting. But yeah, so I told a little hunting stories. I told some interesting facts about squirrels, but I'm probably going to jump off of here and just go lay down for a while. So, y'all, like I always sign out, y'all remember like, comment, subscribe. Remember, Jesus loves you. Remember to push. Pray until something happens, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.